Welcome, students, to another episode of Geometry with Mr. Selby. So today we're going to be building on what we learned yesterday, and it's going to be a lesson on 1-2. I know yesterday we did 1-2 part 1. Today we're going to do 1-2 part 2. I know that's super exciting for a lot of people. Today we're going to actually learn about one of my favorite things. It's called the segment addition postulate. And again, we're going to be dealing with linear measure. So if you remember back from segment 1-1 or lesson 1-1, we learned that linear means line, and we know what measure means. So essentially, we're going to be measuring lines here. And I think this is one of the more fun parts of geometry, and hopefully you agree with me. You identified and modeled points, lines, and planes. That was section 1-1. Now we're going to measure segments, calculate their measures. All right. So we got a line segment, betweenness of points, between congruent segments, and construction. All right, so point M is between points P and Q. If and only if P, Q, and M are collinear. All right, so as you can see, clearly point M is in between these two, and it only works if they're all three collinear. So if point M was up here, you could say, and using non-math vocabulary, that point M was kind of in between them, but it's not directly. Point M has to be directly. For math, for geometry, if you say point M is between them, it has to be directly between them. Like Q definitely can't get to P without going either through point M or around it. All right. So now we got to find measurements by adding. Okay. So we have X, Z is this whole segment. All right. And we have to assume that the figure is not drawn to scale. So essentially, you can't just bring up a ruler and just measure this. All right. Obviously, because it would look so different. Like, can you imagine measuring this on your phone? And then if like somebody had like a projector and they projected onto the board, it would look so much, like it'd be so different. So anyway, XZ is this whole segment, and we're given the measurements for XY, which is 4 5/8 inches. And then we're given the measurements for YZ, which is 2 1/2 inches. So let's see how to figure this out. All right, XZ is the measure of line segment XZ, which we figured out. So we need to figure out what the measurement is of the whole segment. Point Y is between X and Z, which means it's collinear, and it's between them. All right, XZ can be found by adding XY, 4 5/8 inches, and YZ. All right, so the way I like to look at this is that X is kind of where you start the day. That's like when you wake up, that's home. Okay, that's the house. So let's try and think of this as like a little bit of an adventure. So back in the olden days, people used to be able to leave their houses and go to school and stuff. I know it's difficult to think about and remember, but many, many moons ago, people were able to leave their homes and go to places. So X we'll call your home, all right? And these students back in ancient times used to wake up to an alarm clock and be like, oh, it's time to go to school. And they'd be like, oh, man, I really want some breakfast, but I don't want to make breakfast this morning. You know, it would be really cool if I got some McDonald's on the way, right? So X is your house, all right? And then Y over here just so happens to be McDonald's. And you live 4 5/8, not inches, but miles, 4 5/8 miles away from McDonald's. So X is your house, Y is McDonald's, all right? And Z is school. So first thing you do is you drive to McDonald's, all right? And then the second thing you do is you go from McDonald's to school. So from home to McDonald's is 4 5/8 miles. And then from McDonald's to school is 2.5 miles. So if you add them together, how many miles did you travel altogether? You know what I mean? Like how many miles did you travel from school or from your home to school, including your trip to McDonald's? That's what you got to do. That's why you add them together. And we just switch it from miles to inches, and bang, we're able to figure this out. Okay, so it's 4 5/8 plus 2.5. Okay, so betweenness of points, XY plus YZ. Okay, so 4 5/8 plus 2.5 is going to be 7 1/8. All right, answer XZ is 7 1/8 inches long. All right, your turn. What I want you guys to do is take about 5 seconds, or I'm going to take 5 seconds and stop speaking for those 5 seconds, 5 to 10. I want you guys to pause the screen and see if you can solve this problem on your own. All right. So I'm going to go through this problem now, and hopefully you got this one correct. So we're looking to solve for BD, okay? So again, you could say B is your house, all right? C is McDonald's, and D is school. So you drive from home, which is 16.8, to McDonald's, and then you go from McDonald's to school, which is 50.4. So how far did you go all together? Got them together, man. 16.8 plus 50.4. If you have a calculator, now's a great time to use it. All right, hopefully you got 57.4 or 67.2. I'm sorry. Ooh, my math. I'm a math teacher. How did I get that incorrect? All right, 16.8 plus 50.4. All right, hopefully you got that correct. 67.2 millimeters. Hopefully you use a calculator, unlike Mr. Selby, who just winged it right there. And I even looked over the PowerPoint before this. So I even knew the answer, and I just said it wrong. Oh my goodness! Don't do that. All right. So example 4. Assume the figure is not drawn to scale. Find LM. Okay. So let's just say that you're starting out here at home, and you want to go to McDonald's. Okay. And then you want to go to school. Right? You got to pick up that breakfast. Got to get the hash browns. All right. You don't know the distance from your house to McDonald's, but you know the distance from McDonald's to school. And then you look at your TAC afterwards, your odometer, and you see that you traveled 4. Okay. And you know that it's 2.6. You traveled 4 altogether, and it's 2.6 from McDonald's to home. So how much is it, or from McDonald's to school? How much is it from McDonald's to home? That's what you got to think about. So the whole thing is 4. So if I cut out this distance, it'll let me know what distance is, right? The whole thing is 4. Let me cut out 2.6, and then whatever's left is the distance from home to McDonald's. So what you got to do is you got to go 4 minus 2.6, all right? And that should give you your answer, which should be 1.4. So LM is a measure right here of LM. Point M is between L and N. We know that. Between is a point, so this plus this equals this. So little one plus other little one equals really big one. All right, so MN equals 2.6, LN equals 4. Subtract 2.6 from both sides. LM equals 1.4. All right, so it's 1.4 centimeters. You live about 1.4 from McDonald's. All right, hopefully you're able to figure that one out. All right, this one's on you guys. Practice this on your own. So I'm going to stop speaking for about 5 to 10 seconds. I want you guys to pause this and see if you can figure this one out on your own. All right. Okay, so hopefully you were able to figure this one out. So it's find TU. All right. So T to V is 3 inches. The whole journey is 3 inches. And then from this middle point, we'll just call the middle point from now on, always McDonald's. The first point is always going to be home. The second point is always going to be, like, the last point is always school. And this is always McDonald's. Picking up that sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin, which I think is like the best breakfast sandwich they have there. All right. So T to V is 3 inches. U to V is 1 3/8 inches. All right. So what you need to do here is the whole thing is 3 inches. This section is 1 3/8 inches. So what you need to do is take 3 inches and subtract 1 3/8 from it. All right. And you should get 1 5/8 inches. Glad I got that one right. All right. So remember where it says assume that the figure is not drawn to scale? It's definitely not drawn to scale. If you look at this, T to U looks so much smaller than U to V, but 1 5/8 inches is much larger than 1 3/8 inches. Like, it's crazy. So always assume the figure is not drawn to scale. All right. Use math, not eyes. All right. So find the value of X and ST if T is between S and U. ST equals 7X, SU equals 45, and TU equals 5X minus 3. All right. So if you see this is probably going to look super duper confusing. And I'm in the classroom right now, and the lights just went off on me. So find the value of X and ST. All right. If T is between S and U. So essentially, you have to draw a line called S and U, and then put T right in the middle of it. Hey, there it is. S and U, T right in the middle. And you label it. ST is 7X. TU is 5X minus 3. And the whole thing is 45. So the whole thing is 45. So this section is 5x minus 3. In this section, 7x, what you can do is add them together to equal 45 and then solve. So 7x plus 5x, so this section plus this section, right here, you can see it, equals the whole section, which is 45. All right? And then you solve it like an algebra problem. So I don't know if you guys remember how to do this, but the first thing you want to do is combine your like terms. So 7x plus 5x, all right? And that's going to give you 12x minus 3. Then add 3 to both sides, and you should get 12x equals 48. All right, so they did not combine like terms first. That's not a good move on their part, but we'll keep going with it. All right, 12x equals 48. Divide by 12 on both sides, and x should equal 4. Now find st. Yeah, you're not done by just finding x. I don't know if you guys saw this. So just find the value of x and st. So we know xt is 7x. We know x is 4. So 7, whenever there's a number here next to a variable with no sign or anything, it means multiplication, just as a quick reminder. So 7 times x is the same thing as 7 times 4, and that's going to be 28. But let's just double check. 7x, 7 times 4, 28. All right, x equals 4, st equals 28. All right, tough one there. All right, super duper tough one here. I want you guys to try and solve this problem on your own. All right, I'm going to stop talking for about 5 to 10 seconds. I want you guys to work on this problem on your own and hopefully come out with the correct answer. So I'm hoping for, yeah. All right, hopefully you're able to figure out the correct answer. But if you didn't, this requires a lot of like cool stuff and numbers and everything. So what I'm going to do is I actually created a little quick Word document for, oh, the answer is A. Sorry about that, guys. Ruining the surprise. But what I've done here is I've drawn it out. So as you can see on the problem, we'll look at it right here. Find the value of n if wx, all right, is and wx if w is between x and y. So I drew x and y and then I put w in between. All right, and it tells me wx right here is 6n minus 10. And it tells me xy is 17. Oh, the whole thing is 17. All right, and wy is 3n. Okay, perfect. I labeled it correctly. Awesome. Mr. Selby did it correct. Okay, so what you need to do is if this is 6n minus 10 and this is 3n and the whole thing equals 17, you add together these two things. This section plus this section equals the whole big section. So 6n minus 10 plus 3n equals 17. And that's how I got this equation right here. 6n minus 10 plus 3n equals 17. All right, then we have 9n minus 10 equals 17 because I combine my like terms. You have a 3n over here and you got a 6n over here. Combine them together, you get 9n. All right, minus 10 drops down, 17 drops down. Then you add 10 to both sides to get rid of the 10. They cancel out. 17 plus 10 is going to be 27. 9n drops down. You got 9n equals 27 here. All right. Then you divide by 9 on both sides, all right, to get rid of that variable or to get rid of that number and just leave the variable. So 9n divided by 9, and you have to do the same thing on both sides. If you do it to one side, you got to do it to the other. So it's going to be 27 divided by 9, all right. 9n divided by 9 equals n. 27 divided by 9 equals 3. So n is going to equal 3. So we know it's either A or B, all right. We got 6n minus 10 because we have to solve for wx now. Wx is 6n minus 10, but remember, we can just sub in the 3, so it's going to be 6 times 3 minus 10, and that's going to equal 18 minus 10, which is just going to equal 8. All right? Hopefully you guys did not have too much trouble with that, but if you did, listen, this is really confusing. So if you had trouble with this, like, you got to ask for help, all right? I'm going to try and give you guys as many examples as I can, as many videos as I can, but sometimes it's best to just have somebody one-on-one kind of help you with it, you know? And this is like something that's kind of abstract, all right? So, I mean, if you don't understand it, you got to let somebody know, okay? All right, so I can work with you. All right, congruent segments. Congruent segments have the same measure. So whenever you hear something is congruent, that means that they are like equal, all right? So this segment right here is 1.7, and this segment's 1.7. So they're the same. They're equal, but they're also congruent, all right? So whenever you see like a red slash, that means it's congruent. If you see 2 red slashes, that also means they're congruent. If you see 3 red slashes, also means they're congruent. But if you see this one has one red slash and this one has two, they're not congruent. All right? They have to have the same number of slashes to be congruent. All right. Last one. Okay? The graph shows the percent of adults who participated in selective activities. Suppose a segment was drawn along the height of each bar. Which categories would have segments that are congruent? All right? So I'm going to give you guys about 10 seconds to pause the screen and try and figure this one out on your own. All right, hopefully you're able to figure this one out. I'll go through each one. Barbecuing a beach, not the same. Board games and museums, not the same. Beach and picnic, not the same. Zoo and board games, what? They're the same. D must be our correct answer. Oh, yeah. All right, hopefully you're able to figure this one out, guys. Remember, if you have any questions, issues, concerns, anything, please reach out to Mr. Selby so I can help. I hope everybody is staying happy, healthy, hydrated, and safe out there. And remember to come back for a new episode of Geometry with Mr. Selby. Have a great day, guys.